The best faction of Andromeda's Edge is the Zodian Warmongers. And Maximus Lore, one of the co-designers of this game, might agree because he dominated with the Warmongers in the 1v1 match against Luke. You can check that out on our channel. It'll show you just how good these Warmongers can be. Now, the lore of this faction is that they're prideful and vengeful, they're military-based and focused on dominance of the Edge. Their homeworld has been destroyed, and I would be pissed off too. They're basically trying to save what's left of their people at the Edge. Now, you can play this a couple different ways, and here are your powers. The first one is called No Quarter. You see, the Zodian Warmongers, they don't want to talk. They don't want to negotiate. They're not opening hailing frequencies. What you can do is you can discard diplomacy cards, which is one of the 5 different types of tactics cards, and you can gain 2 more tactics cards. So it's a way of cycling your cards out. Now, in the game, one of the things that Luke has done since Dwellings of Eldervale is give you such a thing as a resource that's very flexible, like cards. In this game, tactics cards are not only very powerful, but they're easy to cycle. If you get a card that you can't use, if you get a combat card or an anti-combat card or a resource conversion card and you can't use it, there are ways to spend tactics cards in the module fields. But the Zodian Warmongers have another way to get rid of tactics cards, which is to discard diplomacy cards. Now, diplomacy cards are very circumstantial, so sometimes you're going to get one and it's not the card you need in that situation, but the Zodian Warmongers can ditch it to draw 2 more cards. So they've got their own built-in Monolith of the Ancients, if you will. That power is exactly what Maximus used in the 1v1 to make sure that they cycled and saw a lot of cards. Now, the second power you're going to get as the Zodian Warmongers is called Battle Rage. Battle Rage says that during battle preparation, if you have any ships in the active region, you can get 2 energy. And then at the end of combat, you lose 1 energy. But here's a couple of nuances of that. First of all, if you don't have any energy at the end of combat, you can't lose anything. So if you get a bunch of energy, what it means is in this game, when you spend energy as weapons and battle prep, that is extra dice. So that means that the Zodian Warmongers are going to be able to roll a bunch of dice in combat, getting them more chances of successes. Now, battle prep, to be clear, battle preparations does not happen if diplomacy ends the fight. So what the Zodian Warmongers are hoping to do is get right into the fight. It doesn't always work out for them if someone else, ends the fight. But if it gets to battle prep, they are going to get this free energy that they can use for weapons. Now, if you don't use it for weapons, you're getting 2 but losing 1, so you're still going to get energy that way if you decide you don't need those dice, in case you have big ships or you have developments which are already providing you dice. Now, speaking of ships, the special ship for the Zodian Warmongers is one of the coolest in the game. It's called the DEATHCLAW. DEATHCLAW is an amazing fighter. Now, fighters in this game have the attack ability, which means they're going to be able to launch on a region that's already occupied. And as you can imagine, that the Warmongers want to fight and mix it up with other people. But the DEATHCLAW also has 2 targeting, the greatest amount of targeting of any ship in the game, and that means that they're never going to roll below a 3. So that means if you're rolling a 2 or 1, you're going to re-roll that in combat because the DEATHCLAW has 1 targeting to start plus 2 more targeting, so it has a minimum to roll of 3. It's a deadly, deadly ship. Not only that, it has shields, which means that even if you manage to get past its defenses, it's still going to hang out, which means that the Zodian Warmongers have a confidence to them. Just when you have that ship, you're not afraid to get into fights because you know that you can survive with your fighter just the same way you can usually survive with a heavy cruiser, which is the normal ship that has shields. So the strategy with the Warmongers is definitely to look at the 2 tracks that you're good at, which is supremacy. No surprise, they want to fight. But also industry. You're already 1 step closer to that DEATHCLAW, and if you can just get 1 module, you're going to have the DEATHCLAW immediately, and you're going to have this ship that terrorizes across the Edge. An early strategy would be to get the DEATHCLAW and cause fights. Make sure your opponents know that you are watching and you're going to make sure they can't get on the board. The other thing that I really like about the Zodian Warmongers is the ability to cycle cards. And as we talked about at the beginning, Maximus used that to great effect in that game. Cards are the secret weapon of this game. And when I'm playing the Zodian Warmongers, I'm going to try and follow his footsteps and cycle cards as much as possible, keeping the area in control, keeping control of the board with my DEATHCLAW, and ultimately dominating Andromeda's Edge.